I would start with a question right away. Are you Democrats? What comes to your mind when you think about democracy? And does your neighbor, the person sitting next to you, think the same thing about democracy? The answer is probably not. And that is why, because democracy is a very complex concept. It's made up of so many different things. You might think about liberal democracy, where you have elections, where you have also rule of law, where you have many different other aspects like competition among political parties. In Switzerland, we think about direct democracy, of course. And there are even contesting concepts at the inside of democracy. It's very complex. You have aspects of democracy like majoritarian democracy that contradicts also other parts of democracy, like individual liberties, individual rights. So basically, tensions are inherent in democracy. And that is one of the important aspects. We have still a dominance of liberal democracy, as said, elections, rule of law, some additional aspects, that is present in all Western European political systems. But still, there are different ways on how to think about democracy. Everyone thinks about it differently. That makes it particularly difficult for researchers to assess it. If you think about the individual level perspective, you have so many different ideas behind. That is part of a problem for researchers, but it's also part of the solution. Because if you can assess the connections between all those elements on an individual level, if you see what perceptions of democracy are dominant within a society, you can better explain also clashes in society. You have, of course, not everybody who will say, okay, democracies that are 3 elements that are important for me, it's freedom of speech, it's perhaps something else, and you have some additional elements. Somebody else will say, okay, there are 4 to 10 elements that are important for me, and a third person may say, okay, there are 10 to 20 elements. At the moment, we do not measure it. But we can do a big survey, we can measure it across time and across space, and with that, we can better assess, first of all, the extensiveness of different perceptions, so basically whether everyone thinks about it the same way, whether we have different perceptions, and also polarization. And where the polarization is, there it becomes interesting, because everybody thinks about the crisis of democracy, where we also have challenging concepts such as populism, but we do not really know how it unfolds in society among everyone among us. So that is one of the solutions I propose, that we assess during a survey in different countries at different time points in order to see also the evolution of democracy in a certain country and to really think about what the people think about it. Is it about liberal democracy, really? For 70% of the population, it would probably be. But you still have a number of other people that will say, take a different stance. So we need to break the wall of democratic liberalism. Thank you.
Let's break the wall of computation together. My name is René Iseli, and I'm a PhD student in physics at the Adolf Merkel Institute here in Fribourg, in collaboration with the University of Tohoku in Japan. And I would like to talk with you about artificial intelligence. So you've all encountered... Hey, Siri, start, please. So you've all encountered artificial intelligence somewhere in one way or another in our daily lives. And you hopefully noticed that it is a very powerful and useful tool to solve various amount of problems. And now what we might not be aware of is the immense costs that go along with it. To do a single training run for a system like ChatGPT, it costs us around $12 million US, which makes it an exclusive privilege to big companies to design and train neural networks. Now, how cool would it be if we can reduce the costs to such a level that everybody of us can walk around with our own trainable neural network in our pockets? The main energy consumption in training neural networks comes from the digital computation steps, which are mainly done on GPUs nowadays. So we are replacing these digital computation steps with an actual physical network. How can we do so? Let's break the wall and have a look into nature. Nature is full of wonderful colors. Some of which have a structural nature, such as scales of butterflies, for example. The scales, they inherit a network which scatters light in such a way that only a specific range of colors are reflected. This has fascinated many researchers all over the globe, and we are trying to mimic these structural networks. One way of mimicking these networks is block-polymer self-assembly, where we basically put polymers in a solution and treat the solution in such a way that the polymers assemble themselves into a network. We can then replicate those networks into a magnetic alloy. We can cut a cube out of this material and put it on a chip. This way, we have a volume that we can put input in terms of electrons or light and output. And that way, we can make training of neural networks affordable for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. Hi, everyone. So my name is Mout, and I'm a postdoc at the University of Fribourg. And I'm one of the co-founders of a starter project called BiomeShield, which develops natural plant protection products. So why do we need natural plant protection products? I'll explain, but first, may I ask you to close your eyes and take a moment and think about the warm, fuzzy feeling that you get when you eat fries or pasta or cake or whichever food, because most of us like to eat, right? And actually, none of us can go without eating. But if you think about it, not many meals that we eat are actually produced in a sustainable way. And this is the issue that we want to address with BiomeShield. Now, I have to confess that I mentioned fries because I have a history with potato. And so I will take potato as an example, okay? So potato, like all crops, have enemies, which are diseases. And for example, this is potato late blight, which is a devastating disease that can destroy an entire potato crop in 2 weeks' time. Currently, conventional and organic potato farmers heavily rely on the use of chemical pesticides. And they actually, in Europe alone, spend over €1 billion on these products. But these products are very toxic for human health and also for the environment. And more, their use is restricted, meaning there is less and less means for farmers to produce their crops. Now, in our project, we want to replace these pesticides by eco-friendly alternatives. Solution, we go back to nature, because we believe that the solution may lie in the potato microbiome. So just like we have a gut microbiome that impacts our health, potato plants also have a microbiome that contain microorganisms that can be beneficial for them. So what we do is that we isolate and identify naturally occurring protective microorganisms from potato plants, and then we formulate and combine these together to make natural plant protection products, which then the farmers can use to protect their plants. This approach is also transferable to other crops and other diseases, such as grapevine, tomato, onion, but also other vegetable and arable crops. So ultimately, what we want to do is that with our products, we want to provide an eco-friendly alternative to chemical pesticides. And unlike these chemical pesticides, our products will not have any restrictions of use, meaning that farmers will be able to ensure and increase their yields. And ultimately, we want to meet the growing demand for food production by contributing to developing a safe and nature-based agricultural system that will ensure food security for all in the future. So with this, I would like to thank you for your attention. And also, if you have any questions, I'd be very happy to answer them. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kyung, postdoctor in NCCR catalysis. I've been researching about the porous polymer for environmental remediation. So today, I'm going to talk about the urban mining. So these days, everyone owns a smartphone, right? But at the same time, a lot of the smartphone is discarded all over the world. But do you know how many species, meta species in the smartphone is around 40? But what I'm surprised that is only 70% of a smartphone is recycled, which means like many precious metals are wasted. So today I want to focus on the palladium, which is one of the expensive and valuable metals in the waste material. So palladium is essential component for electronics and catalytic converter in the automobile. Usually the palladium is obtained by mining. The problem is their sources are very limited all over the world. So 80% comes from Russia and South Africa. And also this mining process involves tremendous CO2 emission. So we need a secondary source for the palladium. So my idea is the metal recovery from this waste material. So I developed the flow column. First, I need to leach the metals into the solution. Then you can see here there is a lot of metals. Then I need to capture the palladium from this solution. Thus I developed this black powder, which is the porous polymer having a nanoporous structure with the sulfur functional groups. This is the key property to selective capture from the metal mixture solution. So I prepared this column filled with this powder, then make the flow, this solution, pass through this column. Then you can see here, only the palladium is captured in this black powder, and I got the 100% palladium recovery. Then I can obtain the pure palladium from this the powder. But the important thing is, this technology also can recover the other metals such as the gold. So all these results are reported in the journal Chem. And thanks for your attention.
Hello everyone, my name is Ivana Domljanovic, and today I will present you breaking wall of DNA origami diagnostics. So there is a problem and a huge need to detect nucleic acids in medical diagnostics. To be more specific, breast cancer is the most common cancer in women. 1 of 8 women will develop, and 25% of affected women will relapse. It was shown that early detection of the breast cancer can decrease mortality. Today, as a standard method of detection of breast cancer is mammography. However, has certain limitations, such as specificity, sensitivity, overtreatment, as well. Not every single woman can use it because if you are not older than 50, then you are not selected. And also, there is a patient exposure to radiation. What is important to say, there is no specific test for follow-up or to detect early metastasis. Alternative method to the standard method of mammography are liquid biopsies. But they have complex procedures and they require special laboratories and personnel. So knowing all of this, we can conclude that we really need a test that is better test than what we have for screening and the detecting of breast cancer. And I have a solution for that. And that's nucleic acids detection kit for breast cancer screening and monitoring. It will work in a way that patient comes to doctor for consultation. After that, patient will give a blood, and blood will be mixed with my kit. This kit is based on DNA origami nanostructures. Once the blood and nanostructure are mixed, optical readout will follow. And after optical readout, we will get an answer if patient has a cancer or not. What is really important to say that this kit is more specific, it's sensitive, and non-invasive, it's cheaper, and it's rapid. But it's single-step procedure that can be associated with point-care diagnostic devices, which is really important nowadays. And to conclude all this presentation, I want to say that I already broke the wall of detecting nucleic acids using DNA origami, and now I want to break a wall of detecting of the cancer using DNA origami nanostructures. And I want to use the legacy of DNA origamis nanostructures to build better foundation, stronger foundation for diagnostics overall everywhere in the world. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Alessandro, and I am a useless researcher. That's right. I've devoted 4 years of my life to the study of photonic structures in insects, and the work that I do is very unlikely to impact your lives. And as a result of this work, I've had to spend the past 4 years explaining to others, as well as myself, that what I'm doing actually has some sort of meaning. And this has led me to identify the following problem with society. No one values useless research. Once upon a time, you could stand around and think about knowledge. It had inherent value. But this is no longer the case. If I wanted to talk to you about my research, I can't do this. I have to sell you some sort of bug-powered utopia that's going to change everybody's lives using AI and data analytics. And I think that having this sort of utilitarian approach to science and science funding is truly a problem. Now, with more and more funds shifting from public hands to private hands, who's to decide what is important? And what's going to make science matter is not really how it impacts people, but its market potential. And I think this is truly negative, not only for the common good, but for the usefulness of that science for all of us. Now, I don't think that this means that people studying cancer research are doing the wrong thing. I don't think we shouldn't be tackling climate change. I just think that if we look at the way science has developed over the past, all the groundbreaking discoveries, everything has come from unimportant and useless research. We stand on the shoulders of useless researchers, people like Einstein, Marie Curie, Heinrich Hertz, who all answered unimportant questions that eventually became fundamental problems. I think a very clear perspective to understand how this is negative is if we look at the story of Katalin Karikó. Now, she worked on mRNA vaccines, and her research was considered too complicated and too delicate to have any use. As a result, she couldn't get any funding, and she was demoted. Luckily for us, she stuck to her guns, and she continued with her useless research, and we all know where that went. Now, I'm not saying that we all have to start studying bugs. That would be nice. But what I think that is important is that all of us, as a society, and especially as scientists, start to embrace and really value useless research. Because if we really want to go into innovation, really want to make groundbreaking discoveries, we have to delve into the unknown. And if we're going into the unknown, we can't predict whether what we're going to do is going to have an impact. And more likely than not, it's going to be useless. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Timur Ashirov. I'm a postdoc at the University of Fribourg, Department of Chemistry. And today I will speak about CO2 separation and now which led to finding out a startup Separatic. If I ask you what is wrong with this picture you see in the background, and the first thing that comes to your mind is the carbon emissions in the form of exhaust coming out of the factory chimneys, then you are right. Indeed, this is a real problem, and we have to address the CO2 emissions, especially after this heat wave we had. I think everybody believes this global warming is a real issue, yes. When you look closer as a chemist, you can see that actually it's not only CO2, but there is also nitrogen and water. And if you carry out the analysis, and you can see that actually only 8 to 15% of this mixture is CO2, the rest is nitrogen, which is part of the air. It can be released back to the air atmosphere. And I mean, I was very familiar with the problem here. You see, actually, this is from my hometown in Tajikistan. I grew up seeing the factory plant polluting our air, and my motivation was always to find solution in order to reduce to separate CO2 from this mixture. And that's why I'm here in Switzerland doing PhD, working on trying to find the ways for separation of CO2. Because unfortunately, current existing methods for separation are expensive and inefficient, which brings us to our solution. It comes in the form of the membrane, gas separation membrane, that can reduce the energy separation cost 3 to 5 times at least. And we can also make the membrane much more compact. It means we can make them 100 times smaller. And the secret sauce of our membrane is the porous graphene, and that's why we can get its advantages here. And for people who don't know what the graphene is, essentially it's ultra-thin carbon film. That's why we can get these advantages here. Since technology is very disruptive, there is a huge potential. That's why we started the patent process. And now we're also building the startup, hopefully. It's a Separatic, and we want to sell this technology. So it will be installed in the picture you saw in the factory exhaust. It will be installed there. So hopefully the future generation grows up without experiencing the things that we have been through. And I know that you have some questions, and I will be very happy to answer them. And I want to say that our project also supports United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, particularly the one related to the climate action, especially to increasing the efficiency. And I want to end my presentation saying, saving our planet takes time, better act now.